A researcher who studied the beloved lion Cecil for nearly a decade says the animal suffered for many hours before its death. You may remember Cecil was killed back in 2015 by a Minnesota dentist and avid trophy hunter, prompting fierce backlash. Oxford University biologist Andrew Loveridge says, judging by data sent from Cecil the Lion's GPS collar, he was killed almost 10 to 12 hours after he was initially wounded. Loveridge talks more about the circumstances surrounding Cecil's death in his new book, Lionhearted: The Life and Death of Cecil and the Future of Africa's Iconic Cats. And Andrew Loveridge joins me now from Oxford, England. Welcome.
Hi there.
Based on your research, what more can you tell us about the hunt for Cecil?
Well, I think there was a lot of media hype around the initial incident, and I think a lot of it was inaccurate. So in this book, I've tried to kind of piece together the incident and portray it in as accurate a kind of way as possible. And so that's kind of what I've done as part of the book.
Well, what do we know about the American dentist who hunted Cecil and his team?
So we know that they went to hunt a lion. It was a lion that we knew very well, Cecil, and actually his coalition partner, Jericho. They were known to be feeding on a dead elephant that had been hunted the previous week. And we know that the hunters came in based on that information, and they set up a bow hunting blind and over the carcass of the elephant, and waited for the lions to come in and feed, and then shot Cecil.
Well, you wrote in your book, quote, "Until the lion has its own storyteller, tales of the lion hunt will always glorify the hunter." How much did that sentiment drive you to conduct further research and put out this book?
Well, I think in many ways lions are in deep trouble in Africa. They're declining in number rapidly. They've lost about 43% of their population over the last 20 years or so, and they're disappearing from many parts of Africa. And so really what motivated me to write this book is to kind of tell that story and say, these animals are in trouble. We need to do something about their conservation, the threats to their habitat, which is really the big threat to lions, and to sort of really get that into the public eye, because if we don't do something about it, they're going to disappear.
Well, Cecil was just one of many lions your team has studied since your research began in 1999. You say really it's threats to their habitat that pose the biggest danger. What about trophy hunting? How big of a factor has that been in these declining numbers?
Well, trophy hunting is one of a suite of threats, and actually in Mwangi it's the biggest threat. That's the place that we've done a lot of our work. In other parts of Africa it's probably not as big a threat, but really the primary threat is just losing their habitat. And you're showing a shot there of a lion in a snare. Lions conflict with local people in a huge way. Local people really struggle to live with them, and they often set these wire snares to kill them. And as the population of Africa increases, and it's going to double in the next 50 years from 1 billion people to 2 billion people, the lion's habitat is really shrinking. And unless we protect what remains of it, they're going to be in a lot more trouble than they are now.
But how do you get the local population to understand what it is that you're outlining, that these animals are in a very dire situation population-wise? How do you get that buy-in from the local populations that you're talking about?
Yeah, so I mean, local people are often very poor. They're living subsistence lifestyles in these kind of wild areas on the borders of national parks. And unless they actually benefit from wildlife in some way, they're never going to tolerate it. So that's really the challenge we have. And conservation is expensive. So we need to kind of make sure that we're funding the conservation, but we're also getting some of that revenue to local people.
A lot of very difficult questions. Andrew Loveridge, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much.